All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with this Rosetta Stone webinar. The name of this webinar is Ready, Set Up, and Go, Success Tips for Implementing Online Language Learning. And as I said, I'm so excited that you're here to join myself. I am Melanie Rogers, Training Team Lead, and Tracy Evans, one of the client managers here at Rosetta Stone. And we are going to talk about some of what we believe are the best practices for setting up Rosetta Stone in your schools so that you have the ultimate success in language learning. Our agenda today is we are going to talk about those best practices and tips for principals, for teachers, for students. So we're going to share some of the things that we've learned in the years that we've been working with schools around the country using Rosetta Stone. We're going to talk a little bit about your district, and we want to hear about what's going on in your district as far as your language needs. And then we are going to share some of the successful implementation models that we have seen going forward. Again, I am Melanie Rogers. Some of you, I know, I see some of you that I'm familiar with that have met me in the past at trainings. I have been teaching technology for over 20 years, desktop and then language learning software for the last 6 or so. I am currently the training team lead here at Rosetta Stone, and I am extremely fortunate in it being able to work with teachers across the United States and Canada and helping them create an excellent implementation plan in their classrooms to affect the students. I am extremely passionate about lifelong learning and also alternative education models, so being at Rosetta Stone is a wonderful fit for me. And I'd like to introduce Tracy Evans as well. As I said, she's the client manager at Rosetta Stone. And Tracy, you want to give your intro?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. So a little bit about me. I have a background in science education, so I went to school for biology and psychology, and I minored in secondary education, and then went for my Master of Arts in Teaching to teach secondary life science and biology. I'm coming up on my 7th year here at Rosetta Stone in September. Basically what I do is I kind of project manage the implementation of Rosetta Stone in large school districts, in community colleges, and in universities. And I know I have some of the people that I work with in this meeting today. So thank you so much for coming and supporting me and seeing a little bit more about what we're doing with maybe some of the other clients that I work with. My overall goal is to ensure success at all levels of the implementation. So this goes from, you know, the dean or the assistant superintendent all the way down to our teachers and our students. And I'm super enthusiastic about experiential learning. That's kind of where my background is. So the Rosetta Stone software fits in very nicely into that niche, as well as data-driven approaches to make sure that, you know, we're implementing as best suits your needs and your students' needs.
Thank you. Now, I think all of you are familiar with Rosetta Stone. We have a pretty popular brand name, and this year we are celebrating our 25th year in business. We have been a leader in language learning for those 25 years, and we have helped over 1 million learners become conversationally confident in another language. We know that we have the ability to help others learn languages in an efficient, effective, and entertaining way. We're very proud of that. And today, while we absolutely cover the gamut of people who want to learn another language, the focus of today's webinar is going to be our education system. So our K-12 schools and our higher education schools, we're going to make that our focus for today to talk about the best way to implement those products. And we're also going to talk about, Tracy just kind of touched on it, but we're absolutely going to let you know that we know that you're all very unique. So we know that what we've seen that has worked in the past, but we are also extremely flexible, and we want to make sure that the solutions that we provide and the ideas that we provide are going to fit in uniquely to your specific requirements and what you're looking at as well. So to get started, Tracy really works primarily with the higher levels. So she starts at the top. She works with the superintendents and the directors of curriculum and the principals at the different schools. And so she's going to start talking about what her best practices are for those implementations. Tracy?
All right, I'll take it away. So just to get started, especially with my new clients, or if I'm working with someone who's been using Rosetta Stone for any number of years, the most successful implementations start at that very top level, so with the dean, with the assistant superintendent. It's super important to think about what your overall goal is for using Rosetta Stone. Why did you purchase the program? Did you purchase it for reasons like global awareness, global citizenship, language competency? We see in many cases that global awareness and global citizenship component in exploratory world language programs at the elementary and middle school levels. And then that language competency as it's complementing existing language programs or serving as a 4-credit course in secondary education, meaning the high school or community college or university level. So these common goals will then inform kind of what your implementation is looking to gain. So at the very beginning of your implementation, if we know what your goals are, then we have something to evaluate at the end of the school year, at the end of the semester, upon which to kind of judge how things went. So once those goals are determined, this should be communicated out down to the people serving below you, so the teachers, the professors. So these goals plus that age level of your student, because we want to make sure that your implementation is appropriate for the age level of the students that are using the program, can then help inform goal setting for usage and kind of what you're expecting those students to accomplish during the year. So once these goals are created, it's super important to then communicate these goals out to individual schools and then the classes, and then kind of allow them the freedom to implement within their own unique schedule of activities. So as an example, many schools will ask their students to complete a level in the program during a school year. So during a 36-week school year, students can complete about a level if they use the program about an hour a week. So my most successful districts will set some kind of guideline like that and then allow their students or their individual schools and their principals to decide where that fits in during the school day. Should it be as part of a class? Should it be as part of a rotation? Each school has their own unique set of students and their own unique rotation of classes. So having that overall goal and then allowing each school to determine how they want to use it is a really powerful way to make the program work successfully within the district. So even though each school may have some different limitation as far as time and technology, it is so important that there be some kind of overall goal, some overall benchmark or expectation in order to promote that equity of access for students across the district. So even though the method and the time of day that students may be accessing the program, overall everyone's kind of rowing towards the same goal, and at the end of the school year there's equitable progress among students spread across different schools. As you begin your implementation, so you've set your goals, you've communicated out across the district, across the university what those goals are, it's incredibly important to not just evaluate at the end of the first 9 weeks or the end of the first semester or at the end of the school year, but to really evaluate on an ongoing basis throughout the entire school year. So we have reporting features that can help make this reporting piece very easy and not take a ton of time, but being able to evaluate how things are going, doing these periodic check-ins during staff meetings, and not only does this help you gauge how the program is working, but it also allows you to see what may need, amelioration during the year. So is one school having technical issues? Well, it's much easier to fix that, within the first month of usage than to go through the first 9 weeks and then find out, hey, the school's having technical issues, now let's fix it. So having this periodic evaluation throughout the year really ensures success during the entirety of the year. So as part of this evaluation piece, it's really important to determine who is doing what. So if designating, who's going to be tracking goals. So very commonly this will be teachers can schedule, say, a weekly report just to make sure that students are spending the lab time or their classroom time that you're giving them. So this can really help with classroom management, just so teachers can follow up with individual students. For principals, this tends to be a biweekly or a monthly report. And then for assistant superintendents or directors of elementary education, this might be a monthly report that they receive, just to kind of keep an eye on things. Setting those specific time frames for review, so maybe before the end of the semester as check-ins, during staff meetings, just as a touch base, a quick 10 minutes, how are things going with Rosetta Stone at your school, can really pay rewards down the line. And then finally, part of my job as a client manager is to help keep track of this. So we here at Rosetta Stone can help you review your data and make suggestions to help you stay on track. So that's my job as a client manager, but we also have a really fantastic implementation support team, and those team members are available as well to help you create a report, evaluate how students are progressing in their program, and that kind of thing. So we do have support on demand here at Rosetta Stone, as well as assigned client managers who can help you review your data and help make those determinations. And then my favorite thing, and this kind of goes into Melanie's role, is to find your champions. So who is extremely excited about using Rosetta Stone? Sometimes this might be an individual language teacher. This might be your technology director. It might be an assistant superintendent who is just super excited about using Rosetta Stone and is finding a ton of success within their classroom. So in these large implementations, you'll tend to find those people with the loud voices have a strong opinion about the program. And sometimes those loud voices, you can kind of turn them from, if someone's having a technical issue and they bring that to your attention, that means that they're enthusiastic about Rosetta Stone. They want to use it. So sometimes those squeaky wheels can really be your biggest champions. So at the teacher level, those champions can be someone who then shares their ideas across the district. So when you find your champions, find out what is making them successful and communicate that out across the district. So if you have a kindergarten teacher who's having a lot of success, and he or she is doing something in particular with their students that's making their implementation successful, make sure that that's communicated out across all of your kindergarten teachers so they can put those practices in place. So that teacher-to-teacher communication is incredibly powerful. So sharing those best practices with their own peers is a fantastic. We love our teachers, and having those teachers share their ideas with one another is really powerful in engaging students and getting other teachers excited about using Rosetta Stone. So that actually leads into Melanie.
Thank you. So that does lead into me because really this is where I usually step in, myself and my training team. So we step in and we work directly a lot of times with the teachers. So we provide training sessions both online and on site so that we are able to help the teachers implement those goals in the classroom that have been created from up above. So the district level or the principal level has decided what those goals are. They've worked with our client services team in order to determine that, to come up with some realistic expectations for the way that their schools are set up. And then the training team, is able to go in and work with the teachers and say, okay, these are the plans. How can we help you implement that into the classroom? So we can look at what the classroom looks like as far as what timing they have available, what languages they are offering, how it's going to be used, what those implementation models are going to be, and we're going to go ahead and work with that in the classroom to create really strong, vibrant programs. We help those teachers set some expectations. So we've got expectations that are starting at the top, and we bring those into the classroom, and we look at what grade levels are we talking about. If I have Rosetta Stone in the kindergarten classroom, those expectations are going to be different than Rosetta Stone in a 6th grade classroom. So we work with teachers to figure out the best way to present the information and have students feel successful using that. Of course, our expectations for the kindergarten class is going to be less time and a little bit more group activity, where my 6th graders tend to be more independent as they're going through and working with the classroom. The other thing that the training team tries really hard to do is make sure that you are ready for the first day. As a brand new installation, that's probably the most nerve-wracking thing. And so I saw in the chat some of you have downloaded that first day starter packet or the classroom starter packet, and I would absolutely recommend you to do that. That starter packet says, okay, what's going to help me on that first day? What am I going to need to think about? What should I be telling my students? And it gives you a great little checklist to go through to make sure that student accounts have been set up and created, that you have the equipment that's ready. Maybe it's already bookmarked if we're using desktops or laptops. We are making sure that we have headsets available and perhaps labels for the students. And then we're going to say, okay, we're going to have our students in front of us. What does it look like? And we talk about how important it is to model what you want to see. And you're all teachers. I know that you absolutely understand the importance of that. And it's true as well with Rosetta Stone. So we want to show them, okay, this is how you're going to use your headset. This is how it goes onto your head. This is how you're going to log in. And we've got some login cards that you can use to help them remember their logins. Some schools do use their LMS, Canvas or Clever, and they're able to log in through that system as well with Rosetta Stone. And then as they get started, we're going to say, okay, this is your home screen. What does it look like? And teachers are going to be able to walk their students through that. So the more that we get there and the more that information that we're able to provide our students even on that first day or in the first couple days even, the more successful they'll be long term. So our training sessions do a really good job of making sure that teachers understand not only, hey, this is a great program, but why it's a great program. What does it look like? What are my learners going to see? What can I track? Tracy was talking about tracking and evaluating the data that's coming up. And that's important on a higher level, but it's also important on a teacher level. So our training sessions say, what kind of data do you want to see? And we're going to show you where to find that data so that we can track your students, see how they're doing, and go forward that way. And again, modeling expectations. One of the things, and if any of you are currently using Rosetta Stone, you probably would agree with me. You'd give me a big nod. But sometimes, headsets become, it's a new challenge for the students to use headsets. So the training team especially works really hard to say, hey, here's some tips, here's some tricks, here's some ideas, and this is exactly what you want to do. I know that when I go on site with a group of teachers, I bring my headset along and I go through, this is how you put it on. This is how we can use the microphone. This is where we want the microphone to be. This is how you want to speak. And we found great success by providing that information right up front so the students feel more comfortable and the teachers feel more comfortable as well as they're moving forward. And when we talk about headsets, we talk about computers. One of the things that sometimes people are not aware of, and I want to make sure that we talk about this, is when we're using Rosetta Stone, it is internet-based. So as long as you have access to the internet, you can use Rosetta Stone. And so that means on a desktop, on a laptop, on a Chromebook, on a tablet, on a smartphone, on an iPhone, Windows phone, Android phone, any of those devices are going to be able to allow you to access your Rosetta Stone account or your learner's Rosetta Stone account. So they can do it as homework, they can do it while they're on vacation, they can do it, bring their own device to the classroom. I know a lot of districts are going in that direction, and they would be able to access Rosetta Stone. And they can access Rosetta Stone on 5 different devices throughout a month, and we sync up so it always remembers exactly where you left off, no matter what device you might be looking at. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, or Tracy and I want to talk about, is some different implementation models. Because what we have seen across the country is that districts want to include language learning. Districts know how important it is to provide language learning opportunities for their students, whether it's a world language or whether it's helping those ESL students master the English language. And so sometimes the challenge, though, is where do we fit that? How does that look? What does it look like? And so the next thing that we are going to talk about are some of those implementation models. There's 3 main implementation models that we kind of see, and sometimes it's a combination of 2 or 3 of those models. But next thing is Tracy's going to talk about probably the most common implementation model we have, and that's fitting it in during the school day.
Absolutely. So like Melanie said, most schools do use Rosetta Stone during the school day. The question is when. So many times in elementary school, especially when we're talking about exploratory world language, this will fit into ELA time. So I have many schools that will use this as part of their ELA time, as part of a station rotation. I have some schools that are using this as part of their specials rotation, along with classes like gym and music and art. So Rosetta Stone is just put into their rotation where they receive Rosetta Stone instruction a couple times a week. And then we see Rosetta Stone used with ELL students during their English language time or their time with their tutor. And then at the middle school and high school level, we'll see this as part of their foreign language class, their Spanish class, their French class, their German class, or just a language class where they're also doing, say, independent study with one of our 24 different languages. So this is just worked in as part of the school day, as part of that instructional time within the school day itself. And then Melanie will share what if we don't have time during the school day, where else can we use the program? Oh, here's the slide. So either during language class time within the classroom itself. So some classrooms may have a cart where they have, say, Chromebooks or laptops that are assigned to a classroom or can be moved within the classroom, so students will stay in one physical location and log into Rosetta Stone and have, say, their teacher proctor Rosetta Stone usage. Other schools will use Rosetta Stone within a computer lab, so the entire class will actually go to a different location within the computer lab that's scheduled on a regular basis, so students can use the program within the computer lab. And then during special time, ELA time, Rosetta Stone time worked in among the special schedule 1 to 3 times a week. So there's a variety of different ways that you can make Rosetta Stone fit into your existing schedule. It's just a matter of what works best for your school and where does this kind of fit most easily in your instructional time during the day.
Absolutely. And then sometimes there just isn't time to fit it into the school day. There's so many things going on. And so we also have some very successful implementations that have started using it before and after school programs. We have some that the principal actually saw that students were coming to school early and sitting outside in order to access the Wi-Fi in the school. And so when she saw that, she said, okay, why don't we just start a before school program? And so she opened up the school and opened up a computer lab for students to come in before school in order to work on the program. We also see, again, after school programs. Sometimes it's just Rosetta Stone, but a lot of times it's incorporated into an existing after school program where students have a choice of what to do so what they can choose from, and Rosetta Stone is one of those choices. Sometimes it's a matter of, I have one school in California where the students have different things they can choose from 5 days a week, and Rosetta Stone, if they choose Rosetta Stone, the idea is that they're going to be using Rosetta Stone 2 of those afternoons a week in that after-school program. And a lot of our schools as well, they utilize parent volunteers to help support that, so that there's somebody with the students in the labs, or even sometimes they just open up a classroom and it's bring your own device. But the good thing about after-school programs and before-school programs is sometimes it opens up more languages that can be offered. A lot of times during the school day, schools want to offer languages perhaps as a supplement to an existing language class with a teacher. When they open up before and after-school programs, they're more likely to say, hey, whatever language you want to choose from the 24 that we offer, go ahead and choose it and practice that. And they work really hard to set up language buddies and try to do other things within that. We have some great supplemental materials. One is it's called a language agnostic guide. It can be found on our support site. And that's a guide that we've created for program coordinators or teachers that have a lot of different languages going on in the same classroom. And so it allows them to manipulate that information and say, okay, hey, you might be learning Chinese and you might be learning German and French and Spanish, but here's an activity that you can all do to kind of dive deeper into the target language that you have chosen. So we've seen a lot of success there as well. And a lot of kids getting exposed to more languages, which is always a good thing.
And then finally,
Stacey, yes.
Absolutely, yes. So the final model, or the final way that Rosetta Stone can be used is as a supplement to a language class. So students will access a program at home as homework. And I can share one district in Ohio where I was fortunate enough to visit a Latin teacher a couple months ago who works with some gifted and talented students at his school, and his Latin class, he gets them once a week for maybe less than an hour, so that instructional time is super precious to him. This is when he gets his time with his students to practice speaking with them, to do cultural activities with them, but he assigns Rosetta Stone as homework. And he shared with us that their verbal fluency has just increased dramatically. It's such a benefit for them because by the time he gets them in his class again the following week, they can practice what they did at home on their device. So they can use it on their smartphone, they can use it on their home computer, and pick up right where they left off regardless of their device. So this has been a real great supplement to his classroom instruction where he sees them. The other great thing about using Rosetta Stone at home is this also promotes parent involvement. So the parents can literally hear their students speak another language and encourage them in learning the new language. So we also have successful parent and community programs as well, where parents are learning alongside their students and can practice with their child and learn alongside them and encourage and motivate one another. So being able to use this at home, get the community and family involved, can really promote usage and progress within the program itself.
Absolutely. And what we want to share now, and I hope that more of you can hear us now. I see in the group chat that we're picking up and the audio is finally working for everybody. So I'm actually going to do one quick thing here is, please, if you have questions specific for us, feel free to put them in the group chat and the Q&A. It is being watched, and we are going to have a Q&A session right after this next section of our presentation, because what Tracy and I want to talk about next are some success stories. So we want to share with you some of our favorite clients who took our advice and have done amazing things in their district, not just because of our advice, but just because they are amazing themselves. And so we want to share some of those stories with you so that you can hear about how other places are using Rosetta Stone. And we've got some fabulous success stories that Tracy is going to start sharing some of hers.
Sure, absolutely. So I am fortunate enough to work with many fantastic clients that are using Rosetta Stone in so many different ways. So I have like an entire list of clients from all across the country that are using Rosetta Stone. But I wanted to share a couple of different models that tend to be pretty different from one another, but still fulfill the goals at the district level that they had set. So as an example, I have a school district right here in Virginia where I'm located. So they're real close by. They're using Rosetta Stone with about 800 of their middle and high school students that are enrolled in a language class, primarily Spanish. So they use Rosetta Stone as a supplement to their Spanish instruction. So the Spanish teachers still have their own lesson plans and their classroom curriculum, but then they use the Rosetta Stone software to allow their students to get the speaking practice that they might not necessarily be able to engage in during their class period. So Rosetta Stone not only provides this district with the speaking practice, but then they also utilize our supplemental material. So we have worksheets, quizzes, tests, lesson plans for these teachers that they can also use to tie in Rosetta Stone content into their existing curriculum. So love working with them, and we're seeing lots of success with those Spanish students. Let's see, my next one. So I have a school district in North Carolina who actually came to speak with the entire company earlier in January this year that are using Rosetta Stone with their K through 6 students as an exploratory language as part of their specials rotation or ELA time, depending on the school. But in the initial implementation, we used Rosetta Stone for Spanish, Chinese, English, and I think Latin at the intermediate level. And then this year, since that was so successful, everyone has a few years under their belt. They kind of understand how the program is working and it's going so smoothly at their schools that they're actually opening Rosetta Stone up into all 24 languages. So we're really excited to see what languages that students are interested in selecting and their progress this new school year. I have another school district actually across the country in Arizona that is using Rosetta Stone for their high school ESL students, about 400 high school ESL students, and Melanie did training with them this fall, so hopefully she can speak to them a little bit and talk about what she did with the training there. But we've seen some really fantastic success and language gains in these emergent, pre-emergent English learners where they're increasing their English to get them out of ESL and into the classroom and engaging in their content level classes. And then finally,
and one of the awesome,
go ahead, Melanie.
I was going to say, one of the awesome things about that school that you're talking about right now in Arizona is that it's a high school level. So if we have any ESL teachers on the call, you know that by high school it's that much more challenging and it's that much more difficult because they're being pulled out of extras and they're not getting their electives because they're trying to master English in order before they leave high school. And so what's awesome about the teachers there that are so dedicated in making that happen. And so they not only use Rosetta Stone to help them build their vocabulary and build their pronunciation, but they also use some of our more higher level supplemental materials. So we've got something that we call our focused readings, which are really based around a lot of the civics and social studies requirements that we see. And so we're using those stories that they're using in conjunction with Rosetta Stone, and they're using those focused readings to help them in other classes. So they're building their academic skills and their academic vocabulary as well by utilizing those extra materials. So that's one of the really cool things about that school in Arizona, because it is 9 through 12.
Absolutely. And then finally, the last one that came to mind that I was really excited to start working with is a it's an elementary school down in Florida. They have about 750 kindergarten through fourth graders at a dual language Spanish and Portuguese school. So they're using a blended learning with Rosetta Stone. So they're speaking Spanish or Portuguese during half the day, and then doing English instruction during the other half of the day, but then using Rosetta Stone content to build their students' language skills in that Spanish or Portuguese language, and they're giving their students computer lab time to engage in Rosetta Stone as well to build up their foundational languages, their conversational language, and then practice in their content area classes. So it's a pretty exciting model, but all of them, and hopefully some of these examples can show that regardless of how you're using the program or what implementation model you're using, what age level of student is using the program, you can find success at any level with the right strategy, with that right implementation model. And I'll let Melanie talk a little bit about some of her successes that she's encountered during her training sessions too.
Thank you. So one of the schools I'd like to talk about is actually another one in Arizona, but they are a school and they're using Rosetta Stone grades 3 through 12. They're a small academy that is offering language to all of their students. And one of the unique things about that school is they've chosen a language for the lower grades, but once they reach high school, they're able to choose any language that they want. And that school has seen immense success by using a combination of the online program and then the agnostic guide. So the teacher there really ran with that guide, and so she had her students creating commercials that she videotaped in their target languages that they shared. And so not only are they learning their target language, the language they're choosing, but they're being exposed to the languages that all of their classmates have also chosen, because they've also done reports. So they've done reports on countries that speak the language that they're learning, and they've shared those reports, and they've done group presentations and individual presentations. And so that's a way that they've got that exposure out there, and students are really learning, not only learning the language, but learning that they have a love for language and considering more possibilities as they move beyond that academy. And one thing that I really want to stress is that everybody at Rosetta Stone, we want to see your success. Like, we want to see you succeed, and we want to see languages becoming more part of a school because it's good for our world, not just because it's good for us, right? Of course, we want to implement Rosetta Stone, but we know that it's good for our world so that we can become more globally aware and become better global citizens. And so we appreciate the opportunity to come into schools and help make that happen. And one of the things that everybody on my team, so if it's the client services team, my client managers, implementation specialists, it's the training team, we want to listen and say, hey, what's going on in your district? What are your goals? What are you really hoping for? And then we're going to all work together to make that happen, to find the success and to give you the tools that we have available and to help you make that success and see your kids be successful. So I'm very happy to see everybody that attended today, and I'm excited about the opportunities we're heading into our busy season in the training department as we're kicking off in new districts and existing districts and providing more training so that teachers are ready to hit the ground running come fall with their students. And I really appreciate the time that you guys were able to spend with us today, with Tracy and I. We do want you to know that you can always find us on social media. We're there on Facebook and Twitter. Rosetta Stone Ed, ED, is where we are on Twitter and on Facebook. You can absolutely follow us, see lots of information. I saw earlier that Katie had posted and shared the link to the Bridge, which is a phenomenal community that we have created just for teachers and administrators that are using Rosetta Stone. So we have awesome challenges where you can try different things and answer some questions and earn coins that go towards rewards. I saw somebody just received their socks today in Wisconsin, and they were able to put them on because apparently it's chilly in Wisconsin. I don't know, it's 120 here in Phoenix where I am, but I'm excited about her socks. I am going to put that link into the group chat again in case anybody didn't see it, because we would love to see you on the Bridge and have the opportunity to hear your feedback and to hear how things are going in your school. So absolutely join the Bridge and have us share that.
Absolutely.
You can find me on Twitter. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add, like, from my background, I know as a starting teacher, as a student teacher, I borrowed quite heavily from my cooperating teachers and from the other teachers that I found online with pre-made lesson plans and strategies. And like I said earlier, that peer-to-peer, that teacher-to-teacher sharing is so incredibly powerful. So engage with your fellow teachers on the Bridge. We really want to make this be a community just for you to share those ideas as to, you know, what makes Rosetta Stone work in your classroom, what are some ways that you engage students and motivate them and acknowledge their successes. So I love the Bridge, and I just wanted to give a little plug too.
Awesome, yay! And now we want to open it up to questions from you guys. You can go ahead, feel free to put them in the group chat and the Q&A. I see that we do have a few in there, and we are absolutely gonna check those out and answer those. And then this is where it's your chance to ask us questions, and we are more than happy to answer them. If we don't get to all of your questions, there is a email address that you should see on the screen. Please feel free to shoot an email, and we will respond, and we will get your answers to you. But let's see what we got for questions so far. Do you ever see parent education in a before or after school program? That is an excellent question, and the answer is an unequivocal yes, we do. And I have one school right now in California that is showing really good success making Rosetta Stone available to their parents who are trying to learn English in the community. And so they opened it up, and they opened up their computer labs after school and before school for these parents to come in and utilize the program. And then, of course, they can also use it on mobile devices. And that we have seen really good success there. I know we also work with some programs that we call them our community programs, where we make language learning available throughout the district, so to families as well as the students. And that is another thing that we absolutely are happy to do and provide.
Absolutely. Yep. I have a school district in Georgia that use that community program specifically for parents of English language students, and I actually have another district in Florida that also uses Rosetta Stone to engage with parent learners of English. And then I've also worked with a school district in Michigan where they were using Rosetta Stone as a world language program for their elementary students. And then there was such great feedback from the students and the parents that they purchased that community program for the parents, so the parents could study a language alongside their students. So we saw a lot of success with actually all three of those programs, and absolutely either on a home or at school itself where that usage is actually taking place.
And we have a question here. You mentioned quizzes, tests, supplemental resources that are available. How can we gain access to those or at least preview those? Our supplemental materials are available on our support site. It is support.rosettastone.com. In the group chat, I'm also going to put in a link that takes you directly to the page where all the support materials are. On that page, you're going to find some great information about implementing, but you're also going to find the quizzes and the tests and the focused readings that I talked about, as well as things like a certificate of accomplishment that you can provide to students as they complete language learning lessons and units. There is information for the parents. There's quick start guides that can be sent home. In January, we went through and one of my team counted, and we have over 10,000 pages of supplemental materials that we have provided in order to support all of our online language lessons. So there is lots of really great information that is available there. So I welcome you to check it out and see what you think about that information. And that, like I said, I just put that link into the group chat if you want to click that link in order to get right to that page.
Absolutely. Okay, the next question says, what are some suggestions for group projects with middle school and high school learning Spanish? I love this question because this actually relates to the one that we just talked about. Within those supplemental materials, and Melanie might have some like off-the-cuff ideas for group projects, but I will share that we actually have a teacher's guide that goes lesson by lesson with every single lesson within the program itself, and those teacher's guides have the content as well as some lesson plan ideas, but I believe each lesson has some ideas for projects, cultural activities, whole class activities, small group activities, individual activities that students can participate in relating to the content that they just studied within their Rosetta Stone program. So be sure to check out that link that Melanie posts in that chat, because you'll be able to find more ideas than you probably thought about how you can use those, you can incorporate group projects within your classroom.
Absolutely. And to piggyback on that, some of the great things that I've seen, I mentioned earlier the commercials where students just picked an object in the classroom and then they made a commercial that was videotaped and shared about that object in their, so that would be in Spanish or whatever their target language was. I've also seen really good success with creating menus and having students create menus and or grocery lists. And then sometimes there's a potluck depending on the class if that's possible, but even just the act of creating a menu and putting it together has been successful. I've also seen some awesome projects where they just said, okay, let's see, pick a country that speaks the language that you're learning and to write a report about that country. Again, I've seen that done both depending on the level of the student, in their native language or in their target language. And then those are shared whether through individual presentations or perhaps on a bulletin board. I have seen artwork. So, using your target language as a starting point, create some artwork that's based on that language, and seeing some amazing results there. One of the things that our marketing department recently did was they had a contest for students to submit their artwork and created some absolutely beautiful pieces through that. So lots of really cool ideas. And like Tracy said, check out the teacher's guides because they are full of activities and ideas that you can incorporate into your classroom.
And that's not just for Spanish, but we have that language agnostic guide. That has some projects in there too, right, Melanie?
Absolutely. The agnostic guide is nothing but projects. Yep.
So that's designed for your exploratory classroom where students are not just taking one language, where it's not just, say, a Spanish classroom, but students are taking many different languages, but these projects are designed to bring together all of your students, kind of show the commonalities, but also showcase the different variations between the languages and the cultures that they're studying. So that language agnostic guide is really fantastic in an exploratory setting.
And Tracy, the next question is directed to you.
Oh,
what one thing would you recommend? Yes, shout out to you. What one thing would you recommend all of us to check out to be most successful? Any sort of hidden gems?
Oh, well, okay. So one thing that I would recommend that you check out, actually it's within the same portal where you find the teacher's guides. So it's within that same administrator implementation guide. I think it's step 4 instead of step 5. You'll be able to see how to create and schedule a usage report. So my kind of hidden gem within the program that a lot of people don't tend to realize is there is the ability to schedule reports. So at any point in time, you can go into our backend system and create kind of like an ad hoc report to see what students are doing in a particular school or a particular classroom or within the entire district. But you can schedule a report to be automatically emailed to you at a predetermined interval to see what students are doing. So instead of going in and kind of creating that ad hoc report, you can just have that scheduled to be emailed to you. My favorite thing about that report, though, is you can schedule it to show you usage since your last report. So it's kind of like a snapshot of, say, the previous week or the previous month. So when say you're a teacher and you want to see what your students did during the previous week, you can have this email to you at, say, 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Everyone's already gone home, but you get your report in your inbox. You can see that report, and it'll just give you a snapshot of the week. So if your goal for your school is, say students should be using Rosetta Stone 20 minutes a day for 3 days a week, you can look at that report and look and see, okay, did my students get 60 minutes? And you can just scan down the column that says time spent in the program, and you can see, okay, Sally spent her 60 minutes, but Michael had about 45. Was Michael sick this week? Did I have to tell him to stop talking to his neighbor twice during the week? So maybe I should, move him to a different computer, or, not have him sit next to his friend Johnny during the next class so he can get his Rosetta Stone time in. So it just enables you to keep a close eye on your students. It's kind of like your automatic grade book without, assigning students grades. So this is something that I tell all of my teachers, administrators. I really stress those automatic reports can make your life so much easier, and it allows you to pinpoint ideas super quick. If you notice that, say, all of your students aren't getting their hour of usage, are we having tech issues? Is that something that I should bring up to the IT guy at my school? It just allows you to not just find those issues, but then also, if you see a student that's spending lots of time, are they using it after school? Do they have a particular interest in Spanish? Is this something that I can use to engage the student at a higher level? So it really just kind of gives you more control over your classroom and a better idea of how things are proceeding. Great question.
Awesome answer. And I put a link to Tracy's hidden gem, a direct link to that part of the support pages into the group chat as well. So if you want to check out those scheduled reports, if you're currently using Rosetta Stone, absolutely click that link so that you can check that out and get some more information. That's an awesome hidden gem, Tracy. Our next question is, to what extent are these languages accredited? Beyond 1 and 2. We have some kids who want to take French 5 for credit. Tracy, you want to take that one?
Sure. So accreditation can be sometimes a tricky topic because accreditation tends to vary across states and sometimes even school districts. I know that in California we have A to G accreditation, I believe, for Spanish, and maybe, I think it might just be Spanish. But I know in California we're A to G accredited. Accreditation tends to rely on the district deciding to allow Rosetta Stone usage for credit, really kind of making your case for Rosetta Stone usage to be used as credit is to show what content we're teaching your students within the program itself. So we do have resources like our scope and sequence, which can actually be found as part of those teacher resources that Melanie shared within the chat, and our course contents, which is the actual content of the language itself in every single lesson of the program on our support site. They can be found on our support site too. But accreditation tends to be at the state or district, county level versus kind of like a national level, besides California, which I know is A to G accredited.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. That's a tricky question.
Yeah.
Who as a teacher would I talk to about additional training options? So I would first talk to your principal and let them know that you're interested, and then they can reach out depending on how you're set up, whether it's at the district level they need to follow up on that. We have, like I said earlier, 2 different options. We have web training that is available, and then we also have on-site where we will come to you and your co-teachers. Those options, we've got lots of different topics as well that we can cover. So whether you're using Rosetta Stone and have for a while or you're brand new, I know that my trainers can come in and provide you some new information you did not know about before and help your teachers use it in a better way. Also, if you join the Bridge, and here's another plug for the Bridge, but one of the rewards, and it's a lot of points it's a lot of coins, but there are rewards there where you can earn free training sessions, both web and on-site. So that's another way, but I would absolutely talk to your principal first if you're looking at more training options. And we are coming up to the hour. I know that we had some technical difficulties, and I do apologize. Tracy and I spoke the whole hour, though, so that was recorded. And I know that our wonderful marketing team is going to share that out with everybody who was here. So you will be able to capture the parts that you may have missed earlier with audio issues, because we didn't stop talking. We kept going. So that is there. And I am so grateful for Tracy to be part of this implementation webinar, and I hope that it was helpful and that you guys got some new great information. And I look forward to meeting more of you through the training department. I can't wait for this new school year. I'm really excited. So Tracy, you want anything you want to say to wrap us up?
Yeah, for sure. So thank you all for joining us. I know it's pretty much during your summer break or during your summer semester. So thank you for taking time out of your summer day to join us. We are super excited for the new school year. We are already really ramping into August, September timeframe. Make sure if you are an existing customer, and I know some of you are on here, to schedule your training for the fall if you haven't already done so. If you're brand new to Rosetta Stone, let us know how we can help get Rosetta Stone ready for your new school year. We're real excited to work with you and wish all of you the best of success as you move forward.
Thank you. Enjoy your summer.